My parents missed my wedding so they can groom their third-place poodle. The text came in while my maid of honor was pinning my veil. Can't make it today. Biscotti's groomer moved his appointment up. Competitions this weekend. You understand. Love you. I read it twice. Then a third time waiting for the punchline that never came. What's wrong? Lena asked, hairpin still in her hand. I turned the screen toward her. She squinted, scrolled up like maybe there was context I'd missed. Wait, your parents aren't coming? Apparently the dog needs a shampoo. She stared at me. This is a joke, right? They're pranking you. I called. It rang 4 times before my mom picked up. Sweetheart, we're at the groomer now. Biscotti's coat needs the full treatment before Saturday. You know how these judges are. Mom, it's my wedding. I know, and we're so proud of you. But this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him. You'll have anniversaries. The line went dead before I could answer. Lena grabbed my hand. She did not just say that. My hands shook. The makeup artist was standing in the doorway, eyes wide, clearly having heard everything. I forced myself to breathe, to not let my face crumple and ruin 2 hours of work. We're still doing this, I said. Lena nodded, but her expression said she wanted to throw something. 20 minutes later, I walked down the aisle. The music was perfect. The flowers were perfect. And the 2 empty seats in the front row were so obvious they might as well have had spotlights on them. Every face turned as I passed. Some smiled. Others looked confused. My Aunt Clara leaned toward my uncle and whispered something behind her program. My fiancé's parents sat across the aisle, their expressions carefully neutral. But I saw his mom glance at the empty chairs and then quickly away. I kept my eyes forward, focused on him, on the fact that he was here, that he'd shown up, that this day was supposed to be about us. But the absence sat there like a third person, louder than anything being said. When the officiant asked who gave me away, there was a pause that stretched too long. My brother, sitting 3 rows back, cleared his throat and said, "Her family does." His voice cracked on the last word. The ceremony blurred. I heard myself say the vows, heard the applause, felt the kiss. But the whole time I was thinking about a dog getting his fur blown dry while I promised forever to someone in front of everyone, except the 2 people who were supposed to care most. At the reception, the whispers got louder. I caught pieces while cutting the cake. Unbelievable. I heard it was the dog. A grooming appointment? My cousin bypassed the receiving line entirely and went straight to the bar. My grandmother hugged me so hard I thought she might crack a rib, and when she pulled back, her eyes were wet. "You deserved better than this," she said. I nodded, but I couldn't speak. If I opened my mouth, I'd either scream or cry, and I'd already worked too hard to keep my face together. My husband found me near the dessert table an hour later. He didn't say anything, just took my hand and squeezed. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "Don't, this isn't on you." But it felt like it was. It felt like I'd done something wrong, something that made me less important than a dog show, and now everyone knew it. The DJ called us to the floor for our first dance. I smiled, I moved, I pretended this was the happiest day of my life. And in the back of my mind, I kept seeing those 2 empty chairs. The questions started during dinner. My husband's aunt approached while I was pretending to eat. She had that careful smile people use when they're fishing for information, but trying to seem casual. "Your parents must be so thrilled. Where are they sitting?" I gestured vaguely toward the front. "They couldn't make it. Last-minute emergency." Her smile faltered. "Oh no, I hope everything's all right." "It will be." She nodded slowly, clearly wanting to ask more, but my expression must have warned her off. She patted my shoulder and moved away. 3 more people asked variations of the same question over the next hour. Each time I gave the same answer. Each time, it felt like swallowing glass. My husband's parents cornered us near the cake table. His mother kept her voice low. "We don't want to pry, but if there's anything we can do—" "There isn't," I said, "but thank you." His father glanced at the empty seats, then back at me. Family can be complicated. The kindness in his voice almost broke me. I excused myself to the bathroom and locked the door, pressing my palms against the sink until my breathing steadied. When I came back out, my brother was waiting in the hallway. "Everyone's talking," he said. "Let them." Mom called me, said you'd understand once you calmed down. I stared at him. "She called you?" Wanted me to explain that Biscotti's career is at a critical point, that you've always been dramatic about these things. Dramatic. Her word, not mine. He shoved his hands in his pockets. "For what it's worth, I think they're out of their minds. But you're not going to tell them that." He looked away. "They're still our parents." Right. He left, and I stood there in the hallway, listening to music and laughter from the other room, feeling like I was watching my own wedding from behind glass. My grandmother found me 20 minutes later. She was the only one who didn't ask where my parents were. She just handed me a glass of champagne and said, "Drink this. You look like you need it." I did. "Your mother called me yesterday," she said. "Told me all about this dog show, how important it was, how much they'd invested in training." "Did she mention my wedding?" "In passing." She took a sip of her own drink. I told her she was making a mistake she'd regret. She said I didn't understand what it takes to raise a champion. "A champion poodle?" "Yes." We stood there in silence. The DJ announced the bouquet toss. I watched my single friends gather on the dance floor, laughing and jostling for position, and felt nothing. "You don't have to forgive them," my grandmother said quietly. "Then they're wrong." The reception ended just after 11. My husband and I said goodbye to the last guests, smiled for a few more photos, and finally escaped to the car. The silence felt heavy. "You okay?" he asked. No, he didn't push, just drove. We got to the hotel room, and I sat on the edge of the bed, still in my dress, staring at my phone. He loosened his tie and waited. "I need to call them," I said. "You don't." "I do." I dialed before I could change my mind. My mother answered on the second ring, her voice bright. "How was it? I've been thinking about you all day." "You didn't come." "Sweetheart," we explained. "Biscotti's appointment got moved. These things happen. It's my wedding, Mom. And it's his career. He's been training for this for 2 years. The regional title is a huge deal. Bigger than me." She sighed. That particular sound she makes when she thinks I'm being difficult. "Don't be dramatic. You're married now. That's what matters. Biscotti only gets 1 shot at this title. I only get 1 wedding day. You're acting like we skipped it on purpose. This was out of our control. You You chose the dog. We chose to honor a commitment. That's different. Her tone sharpened. You know how much we've invested in him. The training, the entry fees, the travel. This isn't some hobby, this is serious. So is your daughter. Of course you are, but you're an adult. You understand that sometimes schedules conflict. We'll celebrate with you another time. My hand tightened around the phone. There is no other time. It was today. And we're sorry we missed it, but you're blowing this out of proportion. You got married. You have your whole life ahead of you. Biscotti's window is closing. He's 7. This might be his last real chance. He's a dog. The line went quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was cold. That's incredibly dismissive. He's not just a dog. He's a titled champion with a legitimate shot at nationals. Do you have any idea how rare that is? Do you have any idea how this looks? How it felt to walk down that aisle with your seats empty? We're sorry you're upset, but this isn't fair. You're making us choose between you and something we've worked incredibly hard for. I'm not making you choose. You already did. She exhaled sharply. You're overreacting. You'll see that once you calm down. Don't call me dramatic for being hurt. Then don't be selfish. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Biscotti. You'll have anniversaries. You'll have birthdays. He has this weekend. I hung up. My husband sat down beside me. He didn't ask what she said. He didn't need to. I looked down at my wedding ring, the light catching the small diamond. It was supposed to mean something. Today was supposed to mean something. Instead, it meant I'd learned exactly where I ranked. Somewhere below a dog's shampoo appointment. The messages started the next morning. My aunt sent a long text about how dog shows required months of planning and how commitments like that couldn't just be canceled. She was sure I understood. She knew I was a reasonable person. My cousin posted something vague on social media about people expecting the world to revolve around them. She didn't tag me, but 3 people sent me screenshots anyway. My husband's phone buzzed during breakfast. His sister asking if everything was okay. She'd heard my parents had a scheduling conflict and wanted to make sure there wasn't bad blood. There is, I said. He set the phone down. What do you want to do? I don't know. We were supposed to be on our honeymoon. Instead, we sat in our apartment eating cereal and watching my family rewrite what happened. My brother called that afternoon. He sounded tired. Mom's upset. She thinks you hung up on her out of spite. I hung up because she called me selfish. She says she didn't mean it like that. She's just stressed about the competition. You know how she gets. She missed my wedding. She knows, and she feels terrible. But Dad's saying you're making this a bigger deal than it needs to be. I pressed my thumb against the edge of the table. How big should it be? I'm just telling you what they're saying. People are asking questions. Mom told Aunt Diane it was a conflict with prior commitments, and now Diane's telling everyone you're being unreasonable. Prior commitments, that's what she's calling it. She's trying to save face. You know how the family is. If this turns into a thing, it's going to get messy. It's already messy. He was quiet for a moment. Look, I'm not saying they're right, but maybe give it a few days. Let everyone cool off. They're not going to apologize. Probably not, he admitted. But you're still going to have to see them at holidays, at family stuff. You really want to blow this up? I hung up without answering. My husband found me sitting on the couch, staring at nothing. Your brother? Yeah. What did he say? He sat down beside me, his knee touching mine. You don't have to. Everyone thinks I do. My phone buzzed again. Another cousin. This one asking if there was anything she could do to help smooth things over. She'd talked to my mom, who was devastated about the misunderstanding. Apparently, I'd taken something the wrong way, and now feelings were hurt on both sides. Hurt on both sides. I showed my husband the message. That's unbelievable, he said. That's my family. Another text came through. My uncle this time. The one who always played mediator. He wanted to know if we could all get together and talk things through like adults. He was sure this was just a miscommunication. They're circling the wagons, my husband said. They always do. I didn't answer the messages. I turned off my phone and spent the rest of the day pretending the world outside didn't exist. But it did. By the end of the week, my grandmother called. Her voice was gentle, which somehow made it worse. Your mother is telling people you're not speaking to her. I'm not. She's upset. Your father too. They think you're punishing them. They didn't come to my wedding. I know, sweetheart. And I told them they were wrong. But now this is turning into something bigger, and people are taking sides. I closed my eyes. What side are you on? Yours. Always. She paused. But I'm also telling you that this is going to get harder before it gets easier. Your mother has a way of making herself the victim. You know that. So what am I supposed to do? Whatever you need to. But be ready. She's already got half the family convinced you overreacted. How? She's saying the grooming appointment was scheduled months ago. That you knew about the competition when you picked your date. That she tried to talk to you about it, but you wouldn't listen. My stomach dropped. That's a lie. I know. She never said anything. Not once. She told me she'd be there. She helped me pick the dress. I believe you. But she's telling a different story now, and people want to believe her. It's easier than admitting she did something awful. I sat down hard on the edge of the bed. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to know what you're up against. If you push this, she's going to push back harder, and she's better at this than you are. At lying, at controlling the narrative. We hung up a few minutes later, and I sat there holding the phone, trying to figure out how the truth had become this fragile. My husband came home to find me still sitting there. Another call? My grandmother. She says my mom's telling people I knew about the dog show and planned the wedding anyway. He froze. That's not true. So tell people. I did. My brother didn't believe me, or he didn't care. I don't know which is worse. He sat beside me, his hand finding mine. This is insane. This is my family. The next day, my mother's best friend commented on an old photo of me and my parents. Something from years ago. She wrote about how lucky I was to have such supportive parents, how much they'd sacrificed over the years. 3 people liked it within an hour. I stared at the comment until the words blurred. My husband saw my face. Don't read it. Too late. Another message arrived. A family friend I hadn't spoken to in years, saying she'd heard about the wedding and wanted me to know that dog shows were incredibly demanding. Her sister bred Labradors, so she understood the pressure. She was sure my parents didn't mean to hurt me. I typed out a reply, then deleted it. Typed another. Deleted that too. There was nothing I could say that wouldn't make me sound petty. That night, I dreamed about the wedding, the empty seats, the whispers. Waking up didn't make it better. My husband husband made coffee and set it in front of me without a word. He'd stopped asking if I was okay. My phone buzzed. My brother again. Mom wants to know if you're coming to Sunday dinner. No, she's trying to move past this. She thinks if we all sit down together, I'm not going. People are going to notice. Let them. You're making this harder than it needs to be. And she's sorry. She said that. No, she hasn't. He sighed. She's sorry in her own way. You know how she is. She's not going to grovel. I don't want her to grovel. I want her to admit what she did. She's not going to do that. You know she's not. His voice softened. Look, I get it. You're hurt. But at some point, you have to decide if this is the hill you want to die on. It's my wedding. It was one day. The words hit like a slap. One day? I repeated. You know what I mean. Yeah, I do. I ended the call and sat there staring at the wall, feeling the space between me and my family widen into something I couldn't cross. My husband found me an hour later, still sitting in the same spot. You need to eat something. I'm not hungry. You haven't eaten since yesterday. I'm fine. He crouched in front of me, his hands on my knees. You're not fine, and that's okay, but you can't let them do this to you. Do what? Make you feel like you're the problem. I looked at him, this person who'd stood beside me at the altar while my parents chose a dog, and felt something crack open in my chest. What if they're right? What if I am making this bigger than it needs to be? They skipped your wedding for a grooming appointment, but maybe, no, his voice was firm. There's no maybe. They were wrong. You're allowed to be hurt. You're allowed to be angry. Don't let them take that from you. I wanted to believe him, but every message, every call, every conversation was wearing me down, smoothing my anger into something softer and easier to ignore. My phone buzzed again. Another cousin. Another message suggesting I reach out, make peace, be the bigger person. I turned the phone face down and tried to remember what it felt like to be sure of anything. The call came 2 days before the competition. My mother's voice was bright, almost manic. We are leaving for the venue tomorrow. Biscotti's in perfect condition. The groomer said his coat has never looked better. I didn't respond. I know you're still upset, but this is a really big deal for us. Regional finals. If he places, we qualify for nationals. Good luck, I said, and meant it to sound final. Thank you, sweetheart. I knew you'd understand eventually. She hung up before I could correct her. My husband looked up from his laptop. Your mom? Competition's this weekend. You okay? I hope the dog loses. He didn't tell me not to say that. The competition results posted Sunday night, 5th place. Not enough to advance. My phone rang at 9 the next morning. My father's name on the screen. I almost didn't answer. Do you have any idea what you've done? His voice was cold, clipped, the tone he used when he was too angry to yell. What are you talking about? Biscotti lost. 5th place. Do you know how much we invested in this? How much time? I didn't have anything to do with. You created chaos during the most important week of his training. Your mother was a wreck. She couldn't focus. The groomer said she seemed distracted during the final session, and that's probably why his top knot wasn't perfect. I sat down slowly. You're blaming me because your dog didn't win. We're blaming you for making everything about you when we needed to focus. This was our shot, our one chance, and you ruined it. I got married. You picked that week on purpose. Your mother thinks you did it to sabotage us. The words were so absurd I almost laughed. You skipped my wedding for a grooming appointment. We had a commitment. We explained that. But instead of being supportive, you threw a tantrum and made your mother so upset she couldn't even enjoy the competition. Do you know how that feels? Watching something you've worked toward for years fall apart because your daughter can't let go of a grudge? A grudge. Yes, that's what this is. You're punishing us because we couldn't rearrange an entire competition schedule around your timeline. You didn't even try. We tried to make you understand. You refused to listen. And now we've lost something we can never get back. I hope you're happy. He hung up. I sat holding the phone, trying to process what had just happened. My husband came into the room. Who was that? My dad. He says I jinxed the dog show. He what? He thinks I caused them to lose because I was upset about the wedding. He says my mom was too distracted to focus, and that's why Biscotti didn't win. He stared at me. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. He sounded like he believed it. My phone buzzed. A text from my aunt. Your parents are devastated. That dog was their dream. I know you're angry, but maybe this is a sign you should let it go. They've suffered enough. I showed him the message. Suffered enough? He read aloud. They missed your wedding, and now they're the victims because their dog lost a contest. Apparently, another text. My cousin this time, the one who'd posted the vague social media thing. Heard about Biscotti. That's so sad. Competitions are brutal. Your parents must be heartbroken. No mention of the wedding. No acknowledgement that any of this connected. My brother called that afternoon. Mom's not doing well. Because of the dog show. Because of everything. She's saying you cursed them. That you were so negative about the competition it created bad energy. She thinks I cursed them. She's upset. She's not thinking clearly. She missed my wedding for a dog, and now she thinks I'm a witch? Don't be dramatic. She's just looking for a reason why things went wrong. You know how she is when she's disappointed? This isn't my fault. I'm not saying it is, but maybe if you reached out, said something supportive about the competition, it would help smooth things over. Supportive. Yeah, like sorry they didn't win, that kind of thing. They didn't come to my wedding, and they feel terrible about that, but holding on to it isn't helping anyone. The dog show's over. They lost. Everyone's miserable. Maybe this is a chance to move forward. By pretending they didn't do anything wrong? By being the bigger person. I hung up. My husband found me in the kitchen, gripping the counter. Your brother? He wants me to apologize for cursing the dog. You're kidding. He says it would help smooth things over. He shook his head slowly. This is unreal. My phone kept buzzing. Messages from relatives I barely knew, all offering condolences about Biscotti's loss, all carefully avoiding the word wedding. My grandmother called that evening. Your mother's telling people you wished bad luck on them. I didn't. I know, but she's convinced the wedding drama threw off their focus. She's saying the stress you caused made them lose. The stress I caused. That's what she's saying, and people are listening. Your aunt already said something about negative energy at book club. Your cousin's wife mentioned it at the grocery store. So now the whole family thinks I'm cursed. They think you're holding a grudge that cost your parents something important. I know, sweetheart, but that's not the story being told anymore. Now the story is that you couldn't let go of a scheduling conflict and it ruined their one shot at nationals. I sat down hard. How did this become about them? Because your mother's good at making herself the victim. victim. I told you that. And now she has something concrete to point to. The dog lost. That's a fact. And she's connecting it to you. That's insane. That's your mother. The invitation stopped coming after that. My cousin's birthday party, the one she'd mentioned months ago, the one she'd asked me to help plan. She texted 2 days before to say they were keeping it small this year. Family only. You are family, my husband said when I showed him. Not anymore. My uncle's retirement dinner got rescheduled without notice. My brother mentioned it casually, then seemed surprised when I said I hadn't heard. Oh, I thought Mom told you. She didn't. Well, it's next month, 3rd Saturday. Am I invited? Silence. I'll check with Dad, he finally said. He never called back. My husband's family started asking questions. His mother, carefully, over coffee. How are things with your parents? Not great. I heard about the dog show. That must have been disappointing for them. They're handling it. She stirred her coffee, not looking at me. Someone told me they think the wedding caused bad luck. Is that true? They told people that? It came up at church. One of your aunts mentioned it to someone in my book group. I set down my cup. They skipped my wedding. The dog lost a competition. Those things aren't related. I know that. But the way it's being talked about, it sounds like there was some kind of conflict that affected their focus. There was. They chose a dog over their daughter. She reached across the table, her hand covering mine. I believe you, but you need to know what people are saying. It's spreading. My husband's sister called later that week. She'd heard from a friend whose cousin knew my aunt. The story had reached her church, then her book club, then her yoga class. People are saying you jinxed your parents because they couldn't make your wedding, she said. They're acting like you put a curse on them or something. That's ridiculous. I know, but it's what's out there, and your family isn't correcting it. They're encouraging it. Yeah, probably. My phone buzzed. Another message. Another cousin. One I used to be close to. Heard things are tense with your parents. Maybe if you reached out about Biscotti's loss, it would help. They're really hurting. I typed a response, deleted it, typed another. Finally sent. They didn't come to my wedding. She replied an hour later. I know, but that's in the past. This is happening now. Sometimes you have to let things go for the sake of family. I showed my husband. Let things go, he read, like it's nothing. That's what everyone keeps saying. Because they don't want to deal with your parents being upset. It's easier to blame you. My mother's best friend posted a picture of Biscotti on social media. The caption talked about how hard my parents had worked, how much they'd sacrificed, how devastating it was to come so close and lose. 30 people commented with sympathy. Someone mentioned bad timing. Someone else said negative energy could affect performance. My aunt commented, some people don't understand what commitment means. I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. My husband found me on the couch, phone in hand. You're reading it again. They're destroying me and I can't do anything about it. You can tell the truth. Who's going to believe me? They've already decided I'm the villain. He took the phone gently from my hand, then stopped trying to convince them. You know what happened. I know what happened. That's enough. It doesn't feel like enough. I know. The next Sunday, my brother mentioned that my parents were hosting Thanksgiving this year. He didn't invite me, just mentioned it, like weather. You should probably know, he added, in case anyone asks. Another pause. I don't think that's a good idea right now. Because of the dog. Because things are complicated. Mom's still really upset. Dad thinks you owe them an apology. For what? Cursing their dog? For not being supportive. For making everything harder than it needed to be. And you didn't let it go. Now everyone's miserable. At some point you have to decide if being right is worth losing your family. The line went dead before I could answer. My husband came home to find me sitting in the dark. What happened? We're not invited to Thanksgiving. He sat beside me close enough that our shoulders touched. Okay. My whole family, every holiday. They're cutting us out. Then we'll make our own holidays. It's not that simple. It is though. They chose this. Not you. I leaned against him, feeling the weight of every message, every call, every casual exclusion. I just wanted them at my wedding. And now I've lost everything. His arm came around me. Not everything. You still have me. Outside, the city moved on, indifferent. Inside, my family rewrote history one conversation at a time, and I sat in the ruins of what used to be mine. The email arrived by accident. My cousin forwarded a family chain without trimming the history. Buried 3 exchanges down, my father had written to his sister about the competition schedule. Shampoo appointment is set for Friday afternoon. Competition doesn't start until Sunday morning, but the groomer had an opening and we didn't want to risk waiting. Biscotti needs to look perfect. The date stamp read 2 weeks after we'd sent the wedding invitations. I read it twice to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding. My husband looked over my shoulder. Friday afternoon. The wedding was Saturday at 2, so they could have done both. They told me the appointment got moved up, that it conflicted. He scrolled up through the chain. This says they chose the Friday slot because it was available. I forwarded the email to myself, then screenshotted it for backup. My husband watched me save it to 3 different folders. What are you doing? Keeping a record? For what? I don't know yet. He sat down across from me. You're not going to change their minds. I'm not trying to. I just want proof that I'm not crazy. You already know you're not crazy, but everyone else thinks I am. They think I ruined the competition because I couldn't let go of a scheduling conflict. This proves there was no conflict. And when you show people this, they'll find another reason to blame you. Your parents will say the grooming appointment wasn't the real issue, that it was the stress, the negativity, whatever. They'll move the goalposts. Maybe, but at least I'll have the truth. He didn't argue, but I could see him thinking it wouldn't matter. I opened the wedding vendor contracts next. The venue deposit, the caterer's invoice, the photographer's timeline, all of them time-stamped and dated. We'd booked everything 14 months in advance. Sent the invitations 8 months out. My parents had known the date for over a year. The competition registration opened 6 months before the event. I found the confirmation email my mother had forwarded to the family group chat, the one announcing that Biscotti had been accepted. The date was 5 months after we'd mailed the invitations. They had entered him into a competition scheduled the same weekend as my wedding, knowing the conflict they were creating. I made a folder, copied everything into it, organized it by date. My husband came back an hour later with takeout. You're still doing this? Almost done. What's the plan? I don't have one yet. You're gathering evidence for a trial that's never going to happen. I just need to know I'm right. You already know. I need other people to know. He set the food down, his expression careful. And then what? You win the argument and your family hates you anyway? They already hate me. So this is about revenge. It's about the truth. The truth doesn't undo what they did. It doesn't get you invited to Thanksgiving. It doesn't make your mom apologize. Then what am I supposed supposed to do? Just let them keep lying? You're supposed to stop letting them live in your head rent-free. I closed the laptop. That's easy to say. It's not easy, but it's the only thing that's going to let you move on. I didn't respond. He left the food on the counter and went into the other room. I opened the laptop again. The next email I found was worse. My mother had written to the dog show coordinator 3 weeks before the wedding. A long, anxious message about scheduling conflicts and whether there was any flexibility in the grooming requirements. The coordinator had replied that while presentation was important, the actual competition didn't begin until Sunday morning. Grooming could be completed anytime Friday or Saturday morning, as long as the dog was show ready by check-in. My mother had thanked her for the information and said they'd plan accordingly. Then she'd booked the Friday afternoon appointment anyway. I read the exchange 4 times. They'd known they could make the wedding. Someone had told them explicitly that the timing worked, and they'd chosen the conflict. My hands were shaking when I saved the screenshot. My husband's sister called the next morning. Her voice was cautious, like she was stepping around broken glass. I heard something weird yesterday. About me? Sort of. My friend ran into your aunt at the store. Your aunt said your parents almost didn't enter Biscotti in the competition because of a scheduling problem, but they worked it out at the last minute. Worked it out how? She didn't say, but the way she told it sounded like the competition people changed something to accommodate them. Like they bent the rules or adjusted the timing. That's not what happened. I didn't think so, but that's the story now. That your parents sacrificed and compromised to make everything work, and you still weren't happy. I pulled up the email from the coordinator. They were told the timing was flexible from the beginning. They didn't have to sacrifice anything. Can you prove that? I have the emails. She was quiet for a moment. Are you going to show people? I don't know, because if you do, it's going to look like you're trying to destroy them. I'm trying to defend myself. I know, but that's not how it'll look. You'll be the daughter who dragged receipts to prove her parents are liars. Even if you're right, people won't forgive that. So I just let them keep lying. I'm not saying that. I'm saying be careful. Proof doesn't always help the way you think it will. She hung up before I could ask what she meant. I spent the afternoon reading through every family group chat I could access. The patterns were everywhere once I started looking. My mother had posted about the competition in March, months after the wedding invitations went out. People had congratulated her. Someone had asked about timing. She'd said it was complicated, but they were making it work. No mention of the wedding. In April, she'd posted a picture of Biscotti with a caption about dedication and sacrifice. My aunt had commented that some things were worth rearranging your life for. In May, 2 weeks before the wedding, she'd posted about the grooming schedule being finalized. Someone asked if everything was coming together. She'd replied that it was stressful, but they were committed to seeing it through. Still no mention of the wedding. The wedding itself had never appeared in any family chat. Not the announcement, not the date, not the aftermath. It was like it hadn't happened. But the dog show was everywhere. Updates, countdowns, training reports. My mother had documented every step except the ones that overlapped with my life. I made another folder. My husband found me cross-referencing timestamps. You're going to make yourself sick. They erased me. What? Look at this. Months of posts about the dog. Nothing about the wedding. They announced the competition to everyone but never mentioned they'd miss my wedding to go. He scrolled through the screenshots. They didn't want people to know, because they knew how it would look. So they buried it. And now they're rewriting what happened because no one remembers the original version. Except me, and anyone who bothered to pay attention. That's like 3 people? Then those are your people. I closed the laptop. What if I just sent this to everyone? All of it. The emails, the timelines, the proof that they knew the schedule worked and chose the conflict anyway. You'd prove you're right. And they'd never forgive you. Your family would close ranks. You'd be the villain who couldn't let it go, who turned a private hurt into a public trial. Even the people who believe you won't defend you. Because going after your parents like that crosses a line. So they get away with it. They already got away with it. This is just deciding whether you're going to destroy yourself trying to force an apology that's never coming. I stared at the folders full of evidence. The carefully organized proof that I wasn't the problem. I need people to know I didn't make this up. The people who matter already know. That's not enough. It has to be. I didn't send the emails that night, but I didn't delete them either. The next day my grandmother called. Your mother's telling people you've been digging through family emails trying to find dirt. I haven't been digging. Someone forwarded me something by accident. She says you're building a case against them, that you're obsessed with proving them wrong. I'm trying to prove I'm not crazy. You're not crazy, but what you're doing looks like revenge. It's not revenge, it's facts. Facts can be weapons. And your mother's gonna use this to make you look worse. She's already saying you can't move on, that you're so bitter about the wedding you're trying to ruin their reputation. They ruined their own reputation when they skipped my wedding for a dog. Most people don't know that, and the ones who do are choosing to forget. If you come at them with emails and receipts, you're going to look like the aggressor, the daughter who couldn't let a mistake go. It wasn't a mistake, they chose it. I know, but you're not going to win this fight with evidence. You're going to win it by walking away and building a life they're not part of. She hung up gently, and I sat staring at my phone. My husband came home to find me still holding it. What now? Everyone thinks I'm trying to destroy them. Are you? I just want the truth out there. Okay, let's say you send everything. Every email, every receipt, every contradiction. What happens next? People see that I was right. And then they know my parents lied. And then your parents say you betrayed them. Your family says you went too far. Everyone agrees that even if you were right, airing it publicly was cruel. And you're still not invited to Thanksgiving. I set the phone down. So what's the point? That's what I've been asking. I looked at the laptop, closed on the table, full of proof that would change nothing. I thought the truth mattered. It does, but not to people who've already chosen the lie. Outside, the evening settled in. My folders of evidence sat waiting, perfect and useless. And somewhere across town, my parents prepared for a Thanksgiving I wasn't invited to. Their story intact, their daughter erased. The invitation came from my grandmother. Thanksgiving at her house, both sides of the family. A chance to put this behind us. My husband read the text over my shoulder. You're not actually considering this. She's asking me to come. She's asking you to pretend nothing happened. happened. Maybe that's easier than carrying this around. You've spent 2 months collecting evidence that proves they lied to everyone. Now you're going to sit at their table and pass the potatoes? I don't know what else to do. He turned away, then back. You could not go. And prove them right? That I'm bitter and can't let go? You are bitter. You have every right to be. But if I don't show up, that's the story. The daughter who couldn't forgive a scheduling conflict, who held a grudge so tight it broke the family. The family's already broken. Not in a way anyone admits. He sat down, his voice careful. If you go, what are you hoping happens? I don't know. Maybe nothing. Maybe I just need to see them face to face and realize it doesn't matter anymore. Or maybe you're walking into an ambush where 20 people have already decided you're the problem. I didn't answer because he was probably right. The laptop sat on the counter, closed, but not forgotten. Every file I'd saved, every timestamp, every contradiction. Proof that wouldn't change anything but that I couldn't delete. What if I brought it? Brought what? The evidence. The emails. What if I just showed everyone the truth? His expression shifted. At Thanksgiving dinner, they keep lying because no one challenges them. What if someone finally did? You'd blow up your entire family. It's already blown up. I'm just the only one pretending it hasn't. There's a difference between knowing you're right and forcing everyone else to admit it. One lets you move on. The other makes you the villain. I'm already the villain. Not to everyone. Not yet. But if you walk in there with printed emails and start reading timestamps, you will be. I opened the laptop. The folders were still there, organized and waiting. What if they apologize? They won't. But what if seeing the proof makes them realize what they did? They already know what they did. They just don't think it was wrong. I stared at the screen. Months of evidence that would either vindicate me or destroy whatever fragments of family remained. I need to go. Then go. But leave the laptop here. What if someone asks me to prove it? Then you tell them the truth without props. If they don't believe you, a spreadsheet won't change that. I closed the laptop but didn't promise anything. Thanksgiving arrived cold and gray. My husband drove in silence, his hand tight on the wheel. Last chance to turn around. I'm going. Okay, but we leave the second it gets bad. No fighting, no defending, no trying to win an argument you can't win. We just leave. Agreed. He didn't look convinced. My grandmother's house was already full when we arrived. Cars lined the street. Voices carried through the windows. My stomach twisted as we walked up the driveway. Inside, the warmth hit first, then the noise. Cousins in the kitchen, aunts setting the table, someone's toddler shrieking in the living room. Normal, like nothing had ever been wrong. My grandmother hugged me at the door. I'm so glad you came. My mother stood 20 feet away, arranging napkins. She glanced up, smiled tightly, and went back to folding. My father was in the living room, drink in hand, laughing at something my uncle said. He saw me and nodded once, the kind of acknowledgement you'd give a distant acquaintance. My husband's hand found mine. We made it through the first hour on small talk and appetizers. People asked about work, the new apartment, anything except the wedding or the competition. The silence around those topics was louder than any argument. Dinner was called. Everyone shuffled to the table, the seating arrangement clearly planned. My parents at one end with my grandmother, me and my husband near the middle, surrounded by cousins who smiled but didn't quite meet my eyes. My grandmother said grace. We passed dishes. Conversation filled the gaps, safe and surface level. Then my aunt spoke, her tone bright and oblivious. So how's Biscotti doing? I heard the competition was intense. My mother's fork paused halfway to her mouth. He did beautifully, my father said. The judges were very impressed, but he didn't place. Someone else said. Right? Fifth, my mother said quietly. Out of 30. That's still amazing. It would have been better if the timing had been different, my father said. The table went quiet. My husband's hand tightened on mine under the table. What do you mean the timing? My cousin asked. My father shrugged. There was a lot of stress that week. Distractions. It affected his focus. Distractions, I repeated. Everyone looked at me. What kind of distractions? My cousin pressed, genuinely confused. My mother set her fork down. It's not important. No, I'm curious, my cousin said. What could distract a dog? The energy around the house? My father said. Animals pick up on tension. Tension from what? My mother's voice was sharp. Can we not do this at dinner? Do what? My cousin asked. I just asked a question. I felt the words rising before I could stop them. They're talking about my wedding. The table froze. The competition was the same weekend, I continued. They skipped the wedding to take Biscotti to the show. And afterward, they said the stress of that week affected his performance. That's the distraction. My aunt's face went pale. Oh, we've been over this, my mother said. The timing was impossible. We couldn't do both. You could have, I said. The competition didn't start until Sunday afternoon. The wedding was Saturday at 2. You had time. The grooming appointment was Friday afternoon, my father said. We explained this. You chose the Friday appointment. The show coordinator told you grooming could be done Saturday morning. My mother's eyes narrowed. How would you know that? I saw the email. The silence that followed was absolute. What email? My father asked. The one the coordinator sent you 3 weeks before the wedding, where she said grooming was flexible as long as Biscotti was ready by check-in Sunday afternoon. You replied thanking her for the information. Then you booked the Friday slot anyway. My mother's face drained of color. You went through my emails? Someone forwarded me a family chain. Your conversation with the coordinator was in the thread. That's private. It's proof you lied. We didn't lie, my father snapped. We made the best decision we could with the information we had. You were told the timing worked. Someone gave you explicit confirmation that you could do both, and you chose not to. It wasn't that simple. Then explain it, because from where I'm sitting, you entered a dog show the same weekend as my wedding, knowing it would conflict, and then blamed me when the dog didn't win. That's not fair, my mother said. What's not fair, that I kept receipts? You're twisting this. I'm reading timestamps. My grandmother's voice cut through. That's enough. No, I said. It's not, because everyone here took their side. Everyone told me I was overreacting, that I was selfish, that I couldn't understand how important the competition was, and the whole time they knew the schedule worked. They just didn't want to come. That's not true, my mother said, but her voice wavered. Then why book the Friday appointment? Why not Saturday morning like the coordinator suggested? Because we wanted to be prepared, my father said. We didn't want to rush. You didn't want to come to my wedding. Don't put words in my mouth. Then say it yourself. Tell everyone here that you had a choice and you picked the dog. My mother stood abruptly, her chair scraping. I won't sit here and be attacked. I'm not attacking you. I'm asking you to tell the truth. We did what we thought was right. You did what was easiest. And when people asked, you lied about why. We never lied, my father said. You told everyone the grooming appointment got moved up, that it conflicted with the wedding, but you chose the Friday slot 2 weeks after you got the invitation. There was no conflict. You created one. My aunt looked between us, her expression cracking. Is that true? My mother didn't answer. Did you know the schedule worked? My aunt pressed. It was more complicated than that. How? We had to consider Biscotti's stress levels, the travel, the preparation time. You had to consider your daughter, my grandmother said quietly. My mother turned to her. You don't understand what we were dealing with. Then help me understand. Because right now, it sounds like you chose a dog show over your daughter's wedding, lied about the reason, and blamed her when things didn't go your way. That's not what happened, my father said, but his voice had lost its edge. Then what did happen? I asked. He looked at my mother. She looked at the table. We thought the competition was more time sensitive, my mother finally said. The wedding would always be there. The show was one chance. The air went out of the room. The wedding would always be there, I repeated. That's not what I meant. Yes, it is. You thought you could skip it and I'd get over it. That a marriage is just paperwork, but a dog show is an achievement. You're twisting my words. I'm repeating them. My cousin spoke, her voice small. You really chose the dog? My mother's face crumpled. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? My grandmother asked. We worked so hard. Years of training, of preparation. We couldn't just walk away from that. But you could walk away from her, my husband said. My father's head snapped toward him. Stay out of this. No. You skipped our wedding. You made excuses. You let your whole family think she was unreasonable for being hurt. And now you're sitting here acting like you're the victims. We sacrificed everything for that dog, my father said. Clearly? My mother was crying now, quiet and shaking. We thought you'd understand. Understand what? I asked. That a ribbon mattered more than me? It wasn't about the ribbon. Then what was it about? She didn't answer. Couldn't maybe. My aunt pushed her plate away. I defended you. I told people she was being unreasonable. She was, my father insisted. But no one was listening to him anymore. You lied to us, my cousin said. You said the timing didn't work? That you had no choice. We didn't, my mother whispered. Yes, you did. She just proved it. My grandmother stood slowly, her chair creaking. I think you two should leave. My father's face went red. This is your house, not hers. And I'm asking you to leave. You lied to this family. You hurt your daughter and then made her the villain for being hurt. I won't have that at my table. We're your family too. Then act like it. Apologize. Admit what you did. Or go. My mother grabbed her purse, hands shaking. My father followed, his expression hard. At the door, my mother turned back. You'll regret this. I already do, I said. I regret believing you'd ever choose me. The door closed behind them. The house stayed silent. My grandmother sat back down heavily. I'm sorry. For what? For not seeing it sooner. My aunt was crying. I can't believe I told you to let it go. You didn't know. My cousin reached across the table, her hand covering mine. I'm sorry. One by one, the apologies came. Quiet, ashamed, too late to undo the damage, but offered anyway. My husband's arm wrapped around my shoulders. Outside, a car engine started, then faded into the distance. The proof had done its job. But sitting there, surrounded by fractured family and cold turkey, I wasn't sure if vindication felt like winning or just like a different kind of loss. We drove home in silence, the kind that felt earned rather than empty. My husband's hand rested on my knee, steady and warm. Inside, the apartment was quiet. No family photos on the walls yet. No argument waiting in the next room. Just us. I pulled my wedding dress from the garment bag where it had hung untouched since the ceremony. The fabric still held the faint scent of roses and something else. Maybe rain from when we'd stepped outside for photos. I smoothed the lace carefully and hung it in the closet, letting my fingers linger on the sleeve. My husband appeared in the doorway holding 2 champagne glasses and a bottle we'd saved from the reception. Seemed like the right night. For what? A do-over toast, just us this time. He poured, the fizz rising to the rim. We stood in the kitchen, barefoot and exhausted, holding glass that caught the light from the street outside. To what? I asked. To not needing their approval to be happy. Something in my chest loosened. Not forgiveness, not yet, but space where the anger had been. Through the window, fireworks erupted over the park a few blocks away. Someone else's wedding, probably. Another couple starting their life while strangers watched and cheered. The bursts were bright and loud, gold and silver against the black sky, then gone just as quickly. I leaned into my husband's shoulder, watched the colors fade into smoke. Do you think they'll ever apologize? Does it matter? I thought about the dress in the closet, the empty seats at the ceremony, the family that had finally seen the truth. My parents had made their choice. They'd live with it now, just like I'd learned to live with mine. No, I said, it doesn't. The last firework crackled and disappeared. We finished our champagne in the quiet that followed, and for the first time since the wedding, the silence felt like peace.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop your favorite part in the comments. See you in the next one.